You're watching India Today Global Developments from Bangladesh. Bangladesh is in a political turmoil. There has been a change. Will there be restoration of normalcy and peace in Bangladesh? We are looking at an interim government that could be formed, and Dr. Muhammad Yunus has for now accepted the proposal and the idea of heading that interim administration. Now, what's really happening within Bangladesh? India, for now, these are updates that are coming in. India, for now, has the non-essential staff from its High Commission and consulates have returned to India in an Air India flight. The High Commission in Dhaka continues to remain operational, and many diplomats are still present in the High Commission. They're within the compound. They're senior staff who will continue to manage the diplomatic mission, because the diplomatic mission has to continue remaining functional. Why? There are still a lot of Indians who are in Bangladesh. External Affairs Minister on the floor of the House had said that most of the students were evacuated or had left Bangladesh before the trouble escalated. He also, in his response, stated that India had urged for restraint and dialogue in the crisis. The sudden request for refuge in India by Sheikh Hasina, the former Prime Minister of Bangladesh, was granted at a very short notice, and India continues to monitor the situation closely and stay in contact with Dhaka. Now, there have been protests, and there is going to be an interim government in place led by Nobel laureate Dr. Muhammad Yunus. But what does it really mean in the larger picture of things when it comes to how will a government be formed? How will peace and normalcy be restored? I'm being joined from Michigan in the United States of America by Sultan Muhammad Zakaria, who is the co-founder of Bangladeshi Diaspora for Justice and Accountability. Sultan, thank you so much for joining us here on India Today Global. Let's begin with the situation on the ground. We know there was a demand, and that demand was absolutely on the rise when it comes to wanting a change in administration, wanting a change of government. Now, with Hasina gone in the manner in which she had to flee the country, we are looking at a lot of chaos within. What's your reading of the situation on the ground? Because yes, one has to look at restoration of democracy, peace, stability, but also what does it mean for Bangladesh should there be an interim government in place and a re-election thereafter?
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you for hosting me. I think you all have witnessed the historic 2 weeks in Bangladesh, and a lot of Bangladeshi people, I think overwhelming majority of them, are calling it a second independence. So you see the exuberance, the jubilant nature, how excited people are. But unfortunately, in the transition, when the Sheikh Hasina fled the country, there is a vacuum in the administration, and the police, because of his complicity in perpetrating crimes against his own people, I think I think a lot of police officials, they fled also, because they followed and implemented illegal orders from Sheikh Hasina, and that left that left a vacuum in the rank and file of the police. Also, the anger and frustration and agitation against the police force is so enormous that people came out and attacked a police outpost. So this combination of forces, I think, has created certain law enforcement situation, which we believe that when the new administration will take oath by within the next 24 hours or 48 hours, I think that will subside significantly.
Right. Right, but Sultan, the entire situation right now has descended into utter chaos and also persecution. I ask you this is because it's not just about violence in the streets of Bangladesh today. We are looking at and Sheikh Hasina has been accused of political persecution. A lot of the party leaders of Khaleda Zia's party, the BNP, were put behind bars. But now with Hasina gone, we're looking at a lot of them persecuting Awami League leaders. Two wrongs, one don't make a right. And secondly, minorities coming under attack. The Hindus have come under attack in Bangladesh. Jamaat forces have forced people out of their homes, burnt temples. How does one then look at a democratic structure which is also inclusive?
Well, first of all, we all have to understand that the reason Bangladesh is here is because of the lawlessness, of the complete lawlessness that Sheikh Hasina regime enforced. Complete laws of jungle that the Sheikh Hasina regime enforced, complete brutalization of the law enforcement agencies. And we have to remember that we are speaking here when nearly 500 young men and women have been killed by Sheikh Hasina's force. And we are speaking in the context that about 3,000 people have been extrajudicially murdered by Sheikh Hasina regime in the last decade or so. Nearly 1,000 people have been forcibly disappeared, which is unparalleled in Bangladesh's history. So we are here in the context of all of this, and Bangladesh did neither have a democratic system since 2014 because 3 subsequent elections since then were stolen by Sheikh Hasina and completely rigged by her system. And nor had any semblance of human rights. So what we witness is, I think, the storm before it subsides, and the storm and the violence is just the continuation of what has been happening in the country. But I'm confident that once the new government takes oath, and everyone, I mean, all of us is optimistic and should be supportive to the new administration to quell things down. Regarding the attacks on the minorities and their places of worships, there are some very unfortunate incident happening, but I'd like to point out 2 things for you and your viewers. One is that a lot of people affiliated with Awami League regime who established complete reign of terror in the last 15 years, there had been some retribution attacks against them. I'm not saying that should happen, but just to give you a context, that a lot of pushback, lot of attacks are a retribution by the victims who have been subject to violence and brutality in the first place.
Right.
And this retribution is regardless of whether that Awami League cadres are Muslims or Hindus or Christians. So that's one.
So you're saying there's no religious? You're saying there's no religious angle to it at all?
I'm saying there is an element as such that a lot of people, regardless of the religious identity, an overwhelming majority of the Awami League victims right at this moment are coming from the Muslim community. And what is more interesting is that I have been engaging with my Indian friends and colleagues in the media last 3 days. I think I see an oversized reaction because, and also we don't have actually a good coverage on how the students who organized the protest, who led the protest, have been guarding the places of worship, have been trying to contain this violence, have been fending off these miscreants who have been attacking minorities and the places of worship. So there are definitely cases which should not have happened, but I think there are also very organized, systematic attempt to contain that. And
Right.
thirdly, it's completely reported, I mean, disproportionately inflating the figure, because minorities have been subject to attacks for the last 10, 15 years as well. And we document this as a human rights activist and defender. Overwhelming majority of the minorities were subjected to brutalization was done by the Sheikh Hasina's man in the last 10 years. So there is an element to it. I mean, you live in a country where there is a significant minority population. You know how the dynamics works, and no matter how hard we try to establish a complete sense of normalcy, I think this kind of social crime will exist, and we'll all have to try to bring it to zero. But that's an unrealistic target.
Right.
But I think everyone is trying to calm things down, from the opposition, from the student leaders. But again, I'd like to point it that one single point, that a lot of people affiliated with the Army League regimes who brutalized their own population, regardless of the religious identity and color. I think they are primarily came under attack or facing retribution because of their affiliation of the ruling
Right.
party
So,
Army League,
Sultan,
not because they are Hindus or Muslims.
when it comes to the Jamaat being in the streets and the reports that we are getting, maybe there is a difference in how, Sultan, there might be a
Gita,
difference in how we see things and how things are being seen. But on the ground, what really happens at this point in time is that no matter who comes to power in Bangladesh, it's the choice and the power and the right of the people of Bangladesh. Nobody has a right to say anything on that count. But yes, there would be concerns, and I'll tell you why, just enumerating a few more updates that have come in. Now, in terms of India's border security situation, because that is going to be a concern for India, Union Minister Gajendra Singh Shekhawat assured that India is prepared to secure its borders and prevent any negative impacts from the situation in Bangladesh. He did express concern over the instability in the neighborhood country, but emphasized India's vigilance. Now, there has also been a lot of political commentary when it comes to the situation in Bangladesh, and what we are looking at over here is that the BJP criticized Congress leader Salman Khurshid for suggesting that India might face a situation similar to Bangladesh's. Shashi Tharoor, also present at the event, emphasized the need for democracy and fair elections, while BJP MP Rajiv Pratap Rudy dismissed Khurshid's remarks as anarchist. Now, there are also religious tensions that we're looking at, and that also has played out in India. Uttar Pradesh's Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath alleged that Hindus are being targeted in Bangladesh amidst the political instability. He called for unity to defend Sanatan Dharma and suggested that understanding historical mistakes is crucial for preventing similar issues in the future. I'm just recounting some of the updates.
right.
Sultan. The other border concern is now coming from Assam. Assam's Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma expressed concerns about potential illegal infiltration from Bangladesh due to ongoing unrest. He also warned that Bangladesh could become a haven for terrorism again, urging the Indian government to stay engaged with the situation. Let's just focus on these aspects, Sultan. Now,
Sure.
there are
Sure.
concerns here in India,
Sure.
and
Sure.
you've seen the politics being played
Yeah.
out. But there
Yeah.
are also some who are coming with concerns with regards to infiltration, things that we saw in the past, but certainly were areas that we saw massive cooperation, greater cooperation with the Hasina government. Can we expect that leaving the animosity or the kind of relations that the past administration had with India, leaving all that behind, that this new Bangladesh will see sense in having good relations with India?
Well, you mentioned, I think, 2, 3 very important points, and this is totally understandable what India thinks, why it thinks. They have legitimate security concerns. They have legitimate concerns about the infiltration and the development in Bangladesh. Um, uh, but Gidita, I think it's mutual that the same concerns have been voiced in this part of the border. Bangladesh and Bangladeshi people and civil society and the government has been voicing concerns what is happening in India for the last 15 years with the minority population. India has a significant Muslim minority population, and Bangladesh is a Muslim majority country. So it's just a mutual feelings that anything happens in Bangladesh will definitely affect India. But it's the same thing for Bangladesh, that anything
Not
happens.
exactly the same, because you will not see people move from here to Bangladesh, but you will certainly there, if I'm just saying that if the persecution continues, or if there is a certain move or a movement against the Hindu community, they will certainly look to coming to India. So that is a situation that now India has to not just grapple with, but also is a challenge that they have to look at as turning into a reality. It does not move the other way around. If things
It
go,
does actually. When Indian government started implementing the Nationality Act, NCCA,
that
and
has not
that
been
create.
implemented. It has not been implemented yet.
I know, but the campaign and the pressure it created on even on Sheikh Hasina regime at that
Oh
time,
yes, it did.
Even Sheikh Hasina had to
Yes,
speak up
yes,
that this
absolutely.
nonsense had to stop. So I'm just saying this feelings is mutual. It's not one way
No,
street.
I'm saying that people might not move from India to Bangladesh, but if there is persecution of minorities there, the concern is that then they will look to coming to India, and India will have to
Mm.
grapple with a massive population influx. Um,
Yeah.
will
I
that be
don't
the
think, I
case?
mean, that's an outsized reaction in my view.
Okay,
We are
okay, which
not
is what I wanted
looking
to
at,
know. Okay.
yeah, we are not looking at any kind of, um, I mean, any kind of scale that can actually force or drive a lot of people to the borders. There are, as I said, there are incidents, the miscreants are attacking people regardless of their identities, but that remain within a certain. I mean, in my view, as far as I'm concerned, I have access. I have people on the ground, so I doubt that will reach to that inflection point. But remember, I mean, it's an interesting world that we live in. Bangladesh had to take almost 1 million Muslims from Myanmar,
Rohingyas. Yes, yes, absolutely.
Rohingyas, right?
Absolutely.
So it's a very interesting world we live in. Sometimes that, I mean, things have happened that goes out of our control. But I'm not anticipating anything even close to that what happened to Rohingya, or even the violence against minorities in Bangladesh in 2001, when I think there was a legitimate claim that minorities have been systematically attacked. And interesting point I would like to point out to you that the religion based parties, interestingly, including Jamaat Islami and their student wings, they came to the forefront to guard the worships of minorities. They are mobilizing their student wings to protect the minorities. Um,
I know.
and
That has also happened. I agree.
that's really strange,
I
and
agree.
that's
There are
really
student.
surprising.
I agree. There are students' bodies and students who have come out, who've stood outside temples, outside Hindu homes, and they've put out a very strong message saying that we will not allow communal disharmony in the country. But the fact that they're doing this also means that it is happening, that there is a systemic targeting of the Hindus.
No,
Rahul Anand, the musician, Bangladeshi Hindu musician, his house has been completely gutted, and there are threats that we have spoken to various people, to the Hindu community in Bangladesh. So there is that, but yes, the positive story over here is also of students coming out and protecting their Hindu brethren. That certainly is the story. But let's just move on to other aspects, because Sultan, we have a lot of aspects to cover. Let's just take one issue at a time, and then we'll move forward, because this is we're not turning a blind eye. Nobody should be turning a blind eye to the situation in Bangladesh, but there also has to be acceptance of what's happening on the ground and what one desires from Bangladesh, a changed Bangladesh, a Bangladesh with a different government. Now, we do know that if it is Khaleda Zia's government that would come to power after a prolonged, maybe interim government and then re-election, if it does, the son of Khaleda Zia, Tariq Rahman Zia, is known to have a very strong anti-India has had that position for a very long time, and the rhetoric is only growing stronger with the India Out campaign during elections. And Tariq certainly fronted that India Out campaign, taking a leaf out of what was happening in the Maldives. But how serious then is the situation for India when it comes to having a BNP administration, a BNP Jamaat administration? How difficult would things be for New Delhi to engage Dhaka then?
Well, first of all, I'm sure Indian friends in the South Bloc will not expect someone like Sheikh Hasina in the next few years.
Absolutely.
So that's not going to happen, because Sheikh Hasina, in my view, served India's security concerns pretty well. And I think any sane strategist in Dhaka would not poke India, because that's not in the best interest of either Bangladeshi people or the Indian people. So I think the sane centrist voice in Dhaka, they appreciate this, that we have to live with India, we can't change the border. So there must be very systematic, cautious approach how to dwell with our neighbor that has a significant security interest in the country. Whilst having said that, I think it is also the onus on India is that how it want to engage with its neighbor. If the past is any guide, especially the past 10 years, the Indian strategists, Indian officials have a lot to recollect and reflect. They defended, I would say actively defended an undemocratic authoritarian regime, Sheikh Hasina, in a way that angered lots of Bangladeshi people. Even a centrist like me, who wants a very moderate, good, warm relations between our two people. But the way our Indian counterparts defended Sheikh Hasina regime and helped her prolong this undemocratic, despotic regime for the last 10 years, that angered people. So India has to reflect, Indian officials, that what we did wrong and how we can mend this, how we can make an overture that, okay, this is our neighbor, how we can engage objectively, taking the interest of both of us. It's not a one-way street. Bangladesh is a country, India is another country. Both country has to engage constructively. And I think realism, even if we are talking about the realism, then both countries should focus on win-win situation. It's not a zero-sum game.
Right. Let's talk about trade and logistics then, because we're talking positives and we're talking concerns, but there's some uh, news of relief, so to say, on the trade front. Trade between India and Bangladesh through West Bengal's land ports is expected to resume normalcy soon. A meeting at Petropol, South Asia's largest land port, is set to clarify the transportation of goods. Despite the crisis, some cargo movements have already begun. These are reports that are coming in. But there are also concerns from Indian Minister, the Commerce and Industry Minister, Piyush Goyal. He expressed concerns about the situation in Bangladesh and also wished for smooth transition for the country. He was speaking at a business summit in Delhi, and where he did hope for a stable future for Bangladesh amid the unrest. Sultan, a lot of investments of India now in Bangladesh. Nobody anticipated such a turn of events. So, what happens to Indian investments now in Bangladesh? I ask you this is because there are three countries that have, in a way, been involved in this change. One is America, but America doing this has goes in favor of China and Pakistan, is what we're being told. So I don't know what the purpose of the meddling by America really was, but who does this benefit, this change? Because certainly India is going to look at all the money, and Indian businesses are going to look at all the money they've spent and invested in Bangladesh. Will that be secure, or are we going to look at a lot of change of hands when it comes to major infrastructure projects from India to China? Certainly not America.
That's a quite delicate issue, I suppose. But one thing I'd like you to check factually. I'm not certain actually that India has a very large investment in Bangladesh compared to the total investments from Japan, from America, or the countries,
No, we
or the
don't have.
Chinese.
It's not about how big. It's about how significant. Now we do know that
Yeah.
Adani projects, the connectivity projects were all Indian, and
No, Adani power projects are actually in India. So Bangladesh is supposed to import uh, um,
yeah,
electricity
yes.
from Indian power plants. So the Adani's projects are all in India. So
Yes,
they're
but
not
it will
exposed
be,
to this.
but it will be impacted in terms of the exports that they were expecting. The connectivity projects, a part of the BIMSTEC, Bangladesh was critical. A part of India's Act East, Look East policy, Bangladesh was critical. So yes, India did invest quite a bit, not in comparison to what China or Japan have done, but they still are invested heavily
Right.
politically and economically. So how much of a loss should India be expecting in terms of losing ground here?
Um, I think, I mean, personally, I always prefer to separate trade and commerce from politics, because trade and commerce is something that average Joe people from every tier of the society engage, and this is like separating umbilical cord if we see via the trade relations, I suppose. So I hope that the Bangladeshi administrations will definitely take cognizance of the fact that India has made some investment, at least if not at parallel with the Chinese or Japanese, and we should always encourage our neighbors to invest in each other. So, and Bangladesh also has some exports to India, and I'm sure they will also like to try to preserve that access. And I don't foresee any problem to that front, frankly speaking. Nobody in Bangladesh in the right mind talking about that Indian investment will not be allowed, or whatever investment they made will be forfeited. So nobody is talking about that, because that's beyond even discussion.
Right.
That no matter whatever the political relation is, the trade and commerce is something that benefits both people of India and Bangladesh.
Right. Amidst all this, some more updates that are coming in now. Volunteers, student volunteers in Bangladesh, in the midst of the chaos following Hasina's resignation, students have volunteered to manage traffic in Bangladesh due to the absence of police. Additional Inspector General of Police, AKM Shahidur Rahman, urged the police to resume their duties gradually to restore law and order. Now, there has also been resignation. Bangladesh Attorney General Abu Muhammad Amin Uddin resigned, having previously served as President and Secretary of the Supreme Court Bar Association. In terms of evacuations from Dhaka...
Can you give me 1 second? I would like to just close something so that we have the noise control.
Right. I'll just continue with the updates that are coming in. Air India and Indigo operated special flights to evacuate over 400 people from Dhaka amid the crisis. A special Air India flight transported 205 individuals, including 6 infants, from Dhaka to New Delhi. Now,
Yes.
There is also some unfortunate news that's coming in from Bangladesh following the resignation and flight from Bangladesh. At least 20 bodies of Awami League members and their associates were recovered. The violence has continued with reports of additional fatalities in attacks in Satkhira. Sultan, coming back to you, persecutions, Hasina government not there anymore, but Awami League suffering at the hands of the opposition or supporters of the opposition. It is kind of a situation of mayhem in the streets and on the ground of Bangladesh. But to you, I ask, Hasina government, Sheikh Hasina and Sheikh Rehana are in India at this point in time. How do you think the opposition that is now maybe a part of the power structure in Dhaka, how are they looking at Hasina being housed and hosted in Delhi?
That's a scenario that everyone is looking at right now and trying to understand the implications of it. I think one voice is that, I mean, first of all, let me condemn all kinds of violence, because there is no place, whatever grievances you have, whatever injustices you faced under Sheikh Hasina regime, no one should take laws in their own hand. And whoever has been doing this, I think they are not doing any service to the success of the movement that the people are calling a revolution. So they are not doing a good service to that. And I hope, as I mentioned, as soon as Professor Yunus government takes over, I am confident that they will bring these miscreants under justice. And there should be no place of communal politics in new Bangladesh. There should be no place for lawlessness in new Bangladesh that you observed in Sheikh Hasina's regime. Moving to your second question, I think what's the implication for Sheikh Hasina being a refugee in India right now, or if India wants to extend it? I think that's a big question. I think Indian administration has to be careful how it deals with the new Bangladesh, because it's both parties' interest to move forward and given what India has done to, I mean, given Sheikh Hasina, what Sheikh Hasina has done to his own people, I think the mass people, the common people, would not be happy to see that the Sheikh Hasina and a lot of criminal gangs are being sanctuary. I mean, are receiving good reception in India, or they are trying to do something in India. We don't know, right? Because
but also the fact that she's not getting clearance to go to UK or any third country. There are reports of her visa being revoked in the United States by the US.
That's another tragedy, because Sheikh Hasina has been vocal against the West for the last 10 years. She has been taunting, mocking the Western diplomats in Dhaka, the West, and etc. And now what a tragedy in life. Like it's a comedy of error. Now she's trying to seek refuge in the Western capitals, and they refused her. So that's a reminder that the limits of your power. Whenever you are in power, you have to be reminded always. Look, there is a day after. Apparently, Sheikh Hasina forgot that, and now she's receiving the bitter end of it. I hope no one harms her. She has to be safe and secure, but she has to face justice for her crime. That's my aim. That's the aim of our organizations, that she has to face accountability for whatever she has done to her own people.
Okay, Sultan Muhammad Zakaria, thank you so much on that very important message that Sheikh Hasina right now out of the country, but will have to be held accountable for all that happened under her government during her regime. Thank you so much for joining us here on India Today Global. We'll keep bringing you all the news and updates on what's happening in Bangladesh, the updates on the situation on the ground and things that are developing very fast. For now, we are told that the Bangladeshi, so to say, army is looking at an interim government. Muhammad Yunus has taken a flight from Paris to Dhaka. He'll be landing there and accepting that proposal, accepting the recommendation. Let's see whether there's consensus on that front or not. But more importantly, will Sheikh Hasina find a third country? Till the time that doesn't happen, India, for whom she has been a friend and partner, will continue to host her. Thank you for watching India Today Global.